Hello and welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I'm your host, Gabe Peterson, and this is the place investors go to gain actionable advice, learn about current market trends, and hear war stories from other professional investors out there in the field today. Before we get started, I have two quick housekeeping items for you. First, if you like this episode, we would very much appreciate a like, subscribe, and share. It is the best way to support the show and keep it running far into the future. Second, if you're a new investor looking to get started in real estate or an experienced investor looking to take your investing to the next level, I've created an ebook just for you that will cover how to find deals that are actually deals, how to finance those deals with little to no money down, and how to exit those deals for maximum value. On top of that, I throw in an insane amount of free bonuses that you'll have access to once you buy the ebook. All I charge is our admin costs to keep this show running. So if you're serious about real estate investing and want to create both active and passive income as an investor, head on over to the website at therealestateinvestingclub.com and click on the button that says get the ebook in the upper right-hand corner to grab yourself a copy. With that said, let's dive right in. Today we have a very special guest with us, ready to drop some investor knowledge on you. So buckle up, grab your pen and paper, and enjoy the ride. All right, another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. Today we have Kory Dieter. Kory is a Chicago-based real estate investor who began her journey investing in a house hack in 2016. Since then, she and her husband have creatively grown their portfolio by taking a leap in investor-friendly markets outside of Chicago using a few strategies. Today, she offers housing in 4 states to 25 different families. So I am very excited to have Kory here. Kory, thank you for hopping on the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure to have you here. To get started, we always ask guests their story because we like to hear how people got from point A to point B. So tell us, what is your story? How'd you get started down the path of real estate?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I guess I'm going to take it a little bit further back. So from a really young age, I was super conscious of money. Neither of my parents had college degrees. My mom was an immigrant, and we just had a lot of financial pressures in our house as a result of those factors. But in addition to that, my brother had some special health needs. And so we were always, trying to figure out how to balance finances and his care. And I remember, my parents had 3 bankruptcies through my childhood. And wow. I remember hearing debt collector calls and being told, don't answer the phone, and just a lot of stress around that. And so from a super young age, I was just really craving some financial stability. And I remember people had asked me when I was 6 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would tell them, I don't care as long as I have a salary. And yeah. And I don't even know any 6-year-olds now that would even know what a salary is. So I just think it's kind of odd that that was such a driver. So I guess I'm a little bit of a weirdo there, but that really drove a lot of, my high school and my college performance and the types of jobs that I went after college. I ended up getting a career in the healthcare industry. I think a lot of it was inspired by my brother and hoping that we could do better for patients and their families. And so today I'm a chief of staff at a large health insurance company. But through that process in my W-2 career, I think we've all had those jobs that are just soul sucking, unsatisfying. And as you can imagine, in an industry like healthcare where things change slowly, I just got to the point where, especially as my brother was dying, really thinking there's got to be more to life than this. And I can't believe I'm spending time away from my brother doing a job that I really despise. And so there were a lot of times, and this was probably back in 2016, where I would, look at my checkbook and I would ask my husband, like, please, can I quit my job? Please, can I quit? And, unfortunately, we weren't in the position to be able to do that. And so that really propelled me to look at other ways to find supplemental income, passive income. And I ended up, similar to many people, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 4-Hour Work Week, and said, hey, let's figure this out. So we bought a house, we house hacked it. And that was really like a test case to see, do we have what it takes to be a landlord? If we're living above our tenant. And so that that was a really good test for us. We ended up buying a house that was 3 blocks away. It was a duplex. The layout was identical to the apartment that we were living in, and our share of the mortgage, our rent beforehand was about $1,800, and our mortgage share ended up being about $1,550. So we saved a couple $100 there. And over the course of the 5 years that we've owned the place, the rent from downstairs went from $1,400 to now $1,850. And we, definitely built our confidence over the years in landlording, and, taking that step really allowed us to take bigger risks, which led us to investing out of state. So in 2018, I was listening to a podcast about out of state real estate investing and what to look for and how to do it, and decided to take the leap. And so called a bunch of real estate agents, really just the offices in Indianapolis, and said, hey, do you have any investor-friendly agents, any of them that invest themselves? And just started interviewing, and found a really great one who knew the area really well, was willing to spend a day in the car with us, driving around Indianapolis and educating us on neighborhoods and the different challenges, and even the attributes of different properties in different markets. So that's one of the things that I've learned along the way, that, depending on where you invest out of state, you may deal with termites or really bad foundations or tornadoes. And so just educating yourself about the economic factors of the different markets, as well as the physical attributes of the properties themselves. And so we bought a few properties, all multi-units in Indianapolis. We bought a duplex and a triplex on the same day in September of 2018. Yeah, we found the second one while we were down for the home inspection on the first one, and said, hey, let's just make one trip and close on these two on the same day.
Might as well,
and
right?
Yeah. And then through 2019, we grew our portfolio by 2 additional properties in Indianapolis, and then started looking in Oklahoma City, and tried the BRRRR method. And so the Indianapolis portfolio was traditional buy and hold. They were multifamily, so conventional loans, 25% down. And we had this light bulb moment that, we could do these BRRRRs if we could get capital. And so we ended up getting a HELOC on our property, our primary home, and BRRRRed 3 properties in Oklahoma City. They were all single family homes, and they're now stabilized. And then this year, we ended up investing in Milwaukee, and that really came as a fluke. Somebody had posted on Facebook that they were in the process of preparing to sell off their portfolio, and this was a person that I had admired and heard on podcasts. And so I was kind of surprised that she was posting in a Facebook group. And so I private messaged her and said, hey, I would love to learn more. And so we ended up buying a duplex and a 6-unit from her. And so now that's how we ended up in 3 markets with a couple different strategies. And so investing in Milwaukee with the 6-plex, you can't get a conventional mortgage on that because it's over 4 units. And so we got to dabble in commercial lending. And so I think we've officially tried maybe 3 or 4 different strategies with a couple of different financing strategies, and have not figured it out all the way. So within 2 years, we grew really quickly. And when I tell my story to my friends who are interested, I kind of say, some people plant a tree every year, and they get to learn what's working and what's not working, which fertilizer is working, how much to water, and they course correct and have these trees that, they learn their lessons and make them better every year. Whereas I feel like we planted 10 trees in 2 years. And so it's a little bit of spinning plates and trying to figure out what works and trying to apply it across. And so we're definitely in stabilization mode, learning all that it takes to manage C-class properties and the headaches that go along with that. But as challenging as it can be, I think there's a lot of fun in it, and it's rewarding. And through the process too, I guess one thing that I should mention is my husband was able to leave his soul crushing job last year and take Yeah, he was able to take the real estate professional status from a tax, from tax purpose, and he was able to just start managing our portfolio day to day. So it's definitely not a 48-hour a week job for him. However, it's nice to be able to be annoying to the property managers and the contractors and make sure that we're the squeaky wheel so that we can manage our properties effectively and hopefully both be able to retire in a couple of years and travel the world and spoil our dog and do all the things that, really bring joy besides, just working and working.
Absolutely. No, and I love I love your story. Really because of both how it started, and it sounds like, so are you still working, or have you stopped working at this point?
Yeah, so I'm still working, and I think the goal is to be able to have what I like to call FU money. I've been in the jobs where I wanted to quit and wanted to say this is my last day, and right now we're not totally there yet, but I think we're pretty close. I think if our portfolio stays the same size that it's at, and we can get it stabilized and make sure that all of the kinks are taken care of while I still have a W-2 to rely on. I really think that we're setting ourselves up in a really good spot.
I love that. So congratulations first to your husband, because he's out of the job that he did not like, and he is
jealous
doing something that he enjoys a little bit more. So that is
yeah.
great news. But yeah, the one thing that I really picked up from your story is kind of how you started back with your parents. You kind of were, they went through 3 bankruptcies, and bankruptcy itself, to me, even specifically to people in real estate, it's kind of like the terrifying word. You'd never want to go through a bankruptcy. And so I could imagine how much, as a kid, how much stress and pressure you kind of absorbed from your parents that way. So it's awesome to see you kind of utilizing real estate as a way to give you that stability, that financial kind of ground to stand on. So
yeah,
I love
and I
kind of
have to
hearing.
give Yeah, I was going to say, I have to give kudos to my mom too, because I think one of the benefits of growing up poor is if you want something, you have to earn the money to get it. And so, she always provided our basic needs. Both my parents did. I mean, they're still together today, but when they were raising us, they said, "Well, we'll give you the shampoo, we'll give you the Pert Plus shampoo, we'll give you the, all of the basic things that if I wanted some fancy girly shampoo, I had to use my money to get it. Or if I wanted to go out with my friends, I never got spending money to go out with my friends. If I wanted to go to the movies, I got a job. And so my first job I got when I was 11 years old. And so I do think that, when you do have those struggles, it does ignite something in you, and you learn how to be scrappy and resourceful. And I definitely think that has allowed me to be successful later on as well.
And it's a super, super useful task when it comes to real estate, because you definitely have to be scrappy and resourceful. So that's good. You have that in your toolbox there. So just going forward into your story, it sounds like you went into a few markets from the get-go: Indianapolis, Oklahoma, and Milwaukee. You kind of brushed on it, very briefly earlier, but what did you use? What criteria did you use to decide on these markets? Was it distance from your house? Was it the MSA being a certain size, certain job growth? What made you decide on Indianapolis to begin with?
Yeah. So going back to those couple of podcasts that I had listened to, people kept talking about the Midwest, and I happen to live in the Midwest. I live in Chicago. And so there was one podcast in particular where somebody was rattling off, population growth, stable economy, diversified employer base. And she ended up listing a few markets. And Oklahoma or Indianapolis was one of the markets that she listed. And that was the one that was driving distance from us. And so I said, if we're going to try this, let's do it within driving distance. And so that made sense to us, especially because we were self-managing our house hack, our tenant downstairs. And so the intent was to be able to see if we could, in the beginning, self-manage, which we did for a solid year. Until we realized that when it comes to managing a lot of tenants, that gets a little complicated.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
also listing. I know there are tools that you can use nowadays to list units from afar, and like secure lock boxes that you can have prospective, applicants tour homes. But we just figured that was probably a really good point to engage a property manager. And so, so it's the same things that a lot of people are looking for when they're investing out of state. A lot of different economic factors. Looking at the employer basis, my W-2 employer is headquartered in Indianapolis too, and so I figured if for some reason I ever had to relocate, Indianapolis was potentially one of the places that I could migrate to. And so it was in my comfort zone for sure. Now I don't feel like I have to have all of those things in order to assess a market for investing.
Absolutely. And Oklahoma City, that's a distance. Well, okay, I'm kind of giving my naivety when it comes about the Midwest, but yeah, Oklahoma City is pretty far. I just Googled it to make sure I wasn't being an idiot, but it's pretty far from Indianapolis. So what brought you into that market?
Yeah. So that person that I said was on that podcast and talking about out of state investing, her name is Jennifer Beatles, and she ended up having an investor weekend in a different market, Spokane, that I decided to go to. And when I was there were quite a few fellow investors that had properties in Oklahoma City and said they were doing great. What was unique about Oklahoma City at the time, at least the team that a lot of the investors were working with, they were agents, but they were also responsible for the rehab. So it was what I like to call a burn key operation. So, they would find the properties, they knew what the ARVs were, they knew what the construction would cost, because as they were listing these places, they were able to tour the homes and bid out, what the work would be in order to get these renovated and tenant ready. And they also did some property management. So because the purchase prices were lower in Oklahoma City, all of the properties that we purchased were between, I think it was 55 to 90,000 each for single family home. And at the end of the day, when we finished these burrs, we had they weren't perfect burrs, but we were able to get out with only like $10,000 left in each of the deals. I just figured with a HELOC, our HELOC limit was $200K. I figured that would be enough to, do a couple burrs at a time and scale there. And so I purchased my first and my second property there without ever having stepped foot. And then I figured, let's go there, meet the team. And, I think every part of the US has different cultures and norms and, especially different professions. And so I wanted to make sure that I knew how they were operating, because sometimes, when you don't hear, from your team for a while, you assume the worst. And in some cases it is the worst. And in some cases they're just busy working on your property. And so I wanted to see for myself.
I love it. Yep. You definitely have to be feet on the ground. In my experience, feet on the ground is super necessary, although sometimes you get lucky and things just go well, but can never bet on that one. And what was that? Burn key. Sorry, I was looking for I wrote my note down here and I was like, what did I like about that? And the burn key, that's a great phrase. I'm buying a burn key property out in Cleveland right now, but I've never heard anybody use that phrase. So that's great. You heard it here on the Real Estate Investing Club first. So
you heard it here.
So next question I want to ask you, you've financed these properties in many different ways, which is, I love to hear, because financing is one of the big hurdles that people have to, they run up against when they start investing in real estate in the beginning. You've gone commercial and residential. So talk me through, from your perspective, what were the main issues that you have experienced going through the financial aspects of getting a commercial versus a residential loan?
Yeah. So I think on the residential loan side, your W-2 income and your personal credit performance is going to matter a lot. Fortunately, because I was so driven to be financially stable from such a young age, I had a very boring credit score of over 800.
Nice.
Yeah. And, before I had thought about real estate investing, I had $100,000 in debt, student loan debt, from my undergrad and my master's, and had paid most of that off within 3 years of graduating with my MBA. And so I didn't really have much debt to our name besides our personal mortgage. And so, and I didn't have a car. So no car loan. And so, from a underwriting perspective for the residential side, it was really easy to get loans from the beginning. I think some of the challenges that we've faced on the residential side is when it comes to, you really have to find a good lender who's investor friendly. The ideal lender that's investor friendly is one that understands investors and what their financial scenarios look like, especially if they're an investor themselves, they kind of get it. But the other thing that's really critical that has been challenging in some cases is the appraisal piece. So, depending on who the lender uses for appraisals, if you are an out-of-state investor, sometimes they don't understand, property values as well in an out-of-state market, just based on whatever appraisal team they end up using. And so in some cases, we've had to press pause and find a local mortgage company to, with a local appraisal team, to be able to provide an accurate appraisal for us. And we've challenged many appraisals. But, I think, the more loans that you get, so I have 8 mortgages now under my name. And the further along you go, the more they're going to ask about your debt to income ratio, and they're going to want to see your proof of leases. And even if you have a lease that's expiring like 2 months before you're supposed to close on your loan, they're going to want to know, what's the plan for renewing? Can you get a renewal before we close? And so there's a lot of stress that goes along with just closing a residential loan. Commercial has been a lot easier, to be honest, because we're new-ish investors. They still look at our credit score and our personal financial statements and things like that, which I would say get all of that stuff in order if that's an avenue you want to pursue.
Biggest headache is closing a house.
Yeah, just get organized. But I would say the focus is more on the deal. And so, if you find a good cash flowing deal, and a lot of these commercial lenders are looking for that cash flow, you will get approved. What they approve you for, though, is a different story. And so I'm actually going through that right now, where we have our 2 duplexes in Milwaukee that we're trying to cash out refinance into a single commercial loan. And the amount of the loan, especially because of COVID, they're being ultra conservative. And so we weren't able to cash out for as much as we would have on the residential side. But the reason why we decided to go commercial on these 2 properties is because the purchase prices are so low that there's, sometimes lenders just don't get excited about writing a loan for a property that's under $100,000. And so you kind of have to explore, and you learn along the way, and, take the feedback from these lenders that are slamming, their doors in your face, and just figure out like, okay, well, what has everybody else done? I think, with any of this, you're not the first person to try and figure all of this stuff out. And so that's where meeting fellow investors and mentors has been really crucial in just making me not feel so stuck.
Yep. And if you're listening and you are a new investor, I would recommend really finding a lender who does work with investors and who has worked with investors, because they will kind of help you along the process. The first loan that you close, especially commercial, you're going to feel like you're an idiot just running around, slamming into doors, but they're going to kind of guide your hand. So find someone who's had experience who can really guide you. Awesome. Well, hey, I loved having you on the show. Unfortunately, we are at our 20-minute mark, so I'm going to have to push us down into the quick question round. So I ask quick questions, you give quick answers. It starts with books. I'm a big bookie, so I like to ask 2 favorite books, 1 book for real estate investing and 1 for general life wisdom.
Ooh, Designing Your Life was the non-real estate one for me. And I thought there were a lot of great visuals that I could take from it. There's worksheets and templates that you can do to really figure out like what matters to you. So I think, we focus so much on trying to get to the end. But it's like, what is the end? At the end of the day, if we're able to achieve financial independence and that work, like, who knows if that's actually going to make us happy? So actually asking yourself those tough questions of what actually matters. How would you spend your time if you had no boundaries or parameters on that? It's really helped to clarify for me, like, what brings me joy and what my skills are and where I can be most useful in this world. So that's a newer favorite to me. And then for real estate, gosh, there's so many of them. I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad was just so transformational for me, and I hate to say it, but that was such an aha book for me. I also really liked, Bigger Pockets puts out a lot of really great books. I think the new Burr Method book that David Green put out was really fantastic, and it's practical. I think in real estate, there's a lot of like mindset books, which is great, but at some point, like, once you're ready, you've got to actually have the tools to do this. Otherwise you quit, or you just get paralyzed. And so I find that a lot of those Bigger Pockets books, especially the Burr one, was very practical, and you could apply a lot of that knowledge.
Yep, absolutely. It's funny. Many people say Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I mean, it's the book that kind of got me into this too. But you're right. It's not
Cliche.
Practical. You can't take it and use it as a manual to go forward. So
yeah.
I love that you said that. So moving on, next question is, you've already mentioned real estate is a lot about mindset, and habits kind of fall into that category. Habits are kind of the foundation of our life. So if you could point to your life and choose one habit that you feel has contributed the most to your success today, what would that habit be?
Taking risks. I think, and this kind of, I have an appreciation for not everybody feels like they're in the place to be able to take risks. It's very Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like until I had a salary and until I felt confident in my corporate job, it would have been very difficult. Or if I didn't have the money to start investing, right? So I understand that there's like always a time to do this, but wherever you're at in life, I think being able to jump in and not necessarily know, like, where is this going? I think people always talk about, like, do I go right or left? It's like, it doesn't matter. Just pick a path and finish, like, go forward in either of those paths. And I feel like I definitely am one of those people that thinks, I'll figure it out once I get there. And so let me just like sign up for something, and kind of like this podcast, honestly, like, we'll wing it. At least I'm doing it. And usually things end up going, not as planned, but better, or, there's some sort of lesson or benefit to it. And so I try and jump right in and figure it out along the way.
I love that. Be okay with uncertainty. That's a great life lesson. And the next one is kind of along the same veins. If you could go back to the Kory who was just, let's say you were in your corporate job, you did not like where you were looking for an escape route. Go back to her, no experience in real estate, and what would you say for one piece of advice going forward?
Gosh. So practically, I would say start with the Burr method.
Okay. No, that's great. That is
practically, that's what I would say. Figure out how to get the capital to do the Burr. I think in terms of mindset, though, I would say, dream bigger than you think you can, because I can tell you where I'm sitting today with 25 units. Yes, they're not perfect, but if you would have told me 2 years ago that we would have 25 units in 4 different states, I would laugh in your face. I mean, we were thinking that we would buy 1 property per year and retire when we were 50. And so being able to supercharge that and see my husband not having to work a job that he hates, and me very close to being able to have the freedom to make that choice someday, I think, is something that I would instill in myself, a couple of years ago, but also just anybody that's looking to get started.
I love that. Next question is location. So what is an area that you're really excited about investing in today?
So I'm really excited about Milwaukee. It's the latest market that we're in. It's kind of like a mini Chicago. So I love living in Chicago, even though the winters are terrible. But I think there's a lot that the city has to offer, and I think people like being close to water. And so Milwaukee allows you to be, next to Lake Michigan, which is beautiful, at a lower price point. There's tons of cool breweries. It's a really fun place to be, and especially with what's going on right now in terms of people leaving big expensive cities. I think Milwaukee is potentially one of those places for the people that still want to be in a cool city but have lower housing expenses. And so I think there's a lot of potential there, and I'm excited to see what happens.
I love it. Last question is for the viewers and the listeners. You've given us great advice about real estate investing. So if somebody wanted to reach out and get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Probably email, and I can give it to you after the show, but it's kory.a.dieter@gmail.com. So kory.a.dieter@gmail.com.
Perfect. And I will put that in the show notes below. So if you guys click the little more under the description, it'll pop down the full description. And in there, you will see Kory's either LinkedIn URL, if I have it, and her Gmail address down there. So click through there and reach out, say hi to Kory. Awesome. Kory, again, thank you very much for hopping on the show. It was a pleasure having you here. For everybody who's here on the show with us today, thank you guys for showing up. We could not do this without you. You are the reason we're here. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends and family. Other than that, I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. Keep kicking ass in real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed putting it on, and we're able to pull some actionable advice that you can apply in your own investing today in the field. Before you go, we have a gift for you. If you're a new investor looking to get started, or an established investor looking to take your investing to the next level, I've created an ebook just for you, available on our website. This ebook will cover how I was able to create both active and passive income in real estate with very little money to start with. In it, I will address the 3 most often cited obstacles new and veteran investors run into by showing you how to find deals that are actually deals, how to finance a deal with little to no money down, and how to exit those deals for maximum value. And if you get the ebook today, I am throwing in a bundle of bonuses, 7 of them to be exact. The first one will be the off-market lead generation blueprint, which will take you through the exact systems and processes we use to generate off-market leads like clockwork, which is the most important skill when it comes to creating wealth in real estate. The second bonus is the A to Z REI systems and vendors guide, which will allow you to peek under the hood of our business and see the exact tools, systems, and even the vendors we use to see the success that we do. And the third bonus is the top 100 best performing keywords pack, which will give you the exact keywords we use to target motivated sellers online using PPC ads. The fourth bonus is our contracts bundle for wholesaling and renting real estate, which will give you access to all the contracts we use in the field to execute all different types of transactions. After that is the Investors Quick Analysis Calculator and Offer Tool, which will allow you to quickly calculate whether a deal is an actual deal and will allow you to create an offer automatically from those calculations. This is a lot of bonuses that I said. I'm just going to keep going down the list. Number 6 is the Investors Daily Success Tracker, which is a tracker you can use to ensure you are taking the right actions day in and day out to reach your financial goals in real estate. And the last bonus is the Wholesalers Template for Quick Assignment Cash, which will give you the templates we use to present our wholesale deals professionally and efficiently to our buyers. Whew, that is a bundle. So it's a mouthful. You get all of those bonuses for free when you download the ebook. All we charge is the admin cost to run the show. So if you're interested in the ebook and the bonus bundle, head on over to the website at therealestateinvestingclub.com. Click on Get the Ebook Bundle at the top of the page to take advantage of that deal. And with that said, I hope you have a fantastic day and even better week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.